Koala Cafe.
Hello, welcome back to Koala Cafe. My name is Cafe and today I have for you the second part of how to write the perfect personal statement video. If you have not seen part one, I will link it up there. The first video basically explained where you can get loads of different resources, books, podcasts, all of that to actually fill your personal statement with stuff to say. But this video is about how to actually write the personal statement, like how to structure it, things you should think about just before you write it, while you're writing it, and just after you've written your first draft. And I will probably put timestamps in just in case like you want to revisit the video but you don't want to go through the whole thing. I've got offers from all 5 of my university choices, so most of them were just looking at my personal statement. Only Cambridge had an interview, but I also applied to Manchester, Sussex, London School of Economics and Exeter. So yeah, I got an offer from all of them, just so you know my credentials, I guess. The first thing that I would suggest doing when you're about to start writing your personal statement is to literally get everything that you researched, all of the magazines, all of the books, all of the lectures that you watched, the notes on it, all of the podcasts you listened to, everything, and then go through each one and think about the things that was in it. Which one of these things really were like, wow, that's a really interesting topic and I would love to speak about that, or I feel confident speaking about this topic. So you basically want to have 2 piles. One, like, this is all the information which I think is really interesting and I would like to speak more about it. And then this pile is stuff that, yeah, it's kind of cool, it's kind of related to my subject, but like, nah. And then the next step, if you don't remember what some of the books or articles or anything were about, it is okay to get a post-it note or a flashcard or something, quickly reread. Like, I think for one of the books I just reread like the start of each chapter. I googled for a summary of the book online and just make some quick notes on it because it has been a couple of months. No one expects you to remember exactly every single thing that was in the book, but just refresh your memory a little bit. It's okay once you are making new summary notes on them if you decide that you actually don't know as much about the topic, or you're not as interested as you thought in the first step. You can just move it out of the pile. And then the next step is to find within this course which things you are really passionate about. So you may already know this from your reading, but if you don't know that and you're just still thinking, well, I like this subject and I can talk roughly, broadly about this subject, but if they want me to say anything specific or why I personally really have a strong attachment to this subject, I have nothing to say. It's kind of a mess. I went onto my top choice university's website, onto the current students page, and then I looked at what their exams are going to be on, because obviously that's the content that they're learning. And then I literally just went through the PDF document on what all their exams are going to be on, all the different topics, and I think there was like a list of every single lecture topic they have, and I was looking at them like, oh, is that interesting? Is that not interesting? And I basically wrote everything I could be vaguely interested in on this piece of paper. With a red pen, I went over this piece of paper, sorry if you can't see if the light's reflecting it, and I literally just starred things which I'm like, yes, I really like this topic. Out of all the things that I'm vaguely interested in, read other people's personal statements and examples on the student room, or maybe you can ask previous students to read their personal statements before you start writing, just so you can get an idea of the kind of style of writing that you have to be writing in and what kind of information you're putting it in and the structure of the personal statement. You cannot plagiarize. Now comes the trickiest bit, and that is actually writing your first draft. First of all, please note it is 4,000 characters including spaces. I started mine on a memory stick and was doing it on Word, and then I transferred to Google Docs. I in general prefer Google Docs, but I also found that because I was sending it to loads of other people and I might just decide to work on my personal statement in school during a free period and I hadn't brought my memory stick with me, it was a lot easier just to have it on Google Docs because then you can access it anywhere, whereas I had to remember my memory stick. There also wasn't the fear of losing my memory stick and losing my personal statement. So the structure of your personal statement. You want to start with a killer opening sentence, why you want to do the subject and like why you personally. And then in the bulk, middle of your paragraph, you're going to put in your reading, your lectures, the podcasts, everything that you interacted with basically, and your demonstration of your passion for the subjects. Maybe you did a competition related to the subject and you can say, well, I love this subject so much, I entered this competition. If you did an EPQ, I wrote about my EPQ. And then in the next section, you want to put in your extracurricular. So this is like D&E, music, sports, volunteering, all that extra stuff. This is just to like make sure that you're an actual person who likes doing things. So there's different ratios of academic to non-academic. I think they usually suggest 80 to 20 for most people. Mine was probably like 90 to 10. But yeah, if you're applying to Oxford and Cambridge, you might have to have a bit more academic and a bit less extracurricular. And then at the end of your personal statement, you want to have a quick, succinct conclusion about what you had just said, about you as a person. Maybe you can echo what you said at the start. In terms of the first paragraph of your personal statement, this is perhaps like the most important part of the personal statement. This is the first thing they are ever seeing of you. I'm going to read my first paragraph so you can just basically get an idea of what I mean by it has to be, here I am, okay. I discovered my love of anthropology while reading a fictitious Greek mythology book series. It was Percy Jackson. I found myself intrigued by the way that ancient Greek stance on homosexuality challenges religions such as Christianity, an example being the open bisexuality of the Greek god Apollo. Apollo is my favourite god, just because, so I just mentioned him even though most of the Greek gods were bisexual. And goddesses. Okay, anyway, continue. Observing differences between my Caribbean family and British friends has led me to constantly question how cultural norms vary, querying dining etiquette, folklore, social media use, and more. Being a young black woman in Britain has emboldened me to consider identity politics and to examine the reasons why politics is so polarised. You have a little bit about my Caribbean family and British friends. That tells you about me. It tells you I'm from the Caribbean. Yes, I live in Britain and my friends are British, and not only that, I've noticed there are differences. I find identity politics really interesting because I'm impacted by it, so I want to learn more about it and why it's so polarised. That bit on the reasons why politics is so polarised is very important for my personal statement because in my third paragraph most of the paragraph is talking about the polarisation of politics and why it's so polarised. I've got a little sprinkle of this is who I am, this is what connects me personally to the subject, and this is what's coming later on in the personal statement. So in the main body of my personal statement, because I'm doing two different subjects, I had to do two different paragraphs on each subject. So my first paragraph, I basically just spoke about anthropology. This is where I mentioned the book Sapiens and I went into a little bit of detail about what I thought of it, where it led me on to next, and I kind of tied in some super curricular activities into that paragraph. And then in my second paragraph, I was talking mostly about politics. I was talking about the Economist article, the referendums and the damage done. I also used the Talking Politics podcast episode by the same name. I also used Jonathan Haidt's idea of the to explain the polarization of politics. And then my next paragraph, I spoke about my EPQ. I basically just said what my EPQ was, why I did it and what I found out. Finally, last year's full timetable of competitive sprinting, music, drama and performances and volunteering at the Cambridge Museum of Archaeology and Anthropology reinforced my passion for other cultures and has allowed me to hone the communication, time management and organisational skills required in an undergraduate degree. So it's literally so small. Another thing to consider when you are actually writing your personal statement is to use second and third order thinking. So basically this means just not listing the books that you read, outline the principles of the book. That is great. Literally anyone can just read something and tell you, just vomit out what the book was telling you. What you need to do then is take the next step. Think about, how does that make you feel? What did that make you think? What did you do after reading that book? What did you start thinking about? How could you connect it to some other topic? A little tip for actually writing a personal statement: if you went on a summer school or you attended masterclasses or something like that and you had to write a mini personal statement, then it is okay to use parts of your mini personal statement in your actual personal statement. It kind of helps also to not start at the start of the personal statement. Try avoid using overused phrases. This doesn't just mean copyright, because you literally just won't get your personal statement on UCAS if you copy and paste someone else's, if you plagiarize. An overused phrase, or just a kind of silly phrase to be honest, might be, ever since I was younger I wanted to study archaeology. Because really, no, you weren't. Like, who, when they're 2 years old, was like, yes, this is what I want to do with my life? Passion, the word passion is really overused, so try and avoid using it. Once you have written your first draft of the personal statement, you then have to rewrite. I was watching Ibsmo's video on how to write a personal statement and he said, kill your babies, and it's completely true. You have to write that personal statement and then it's going to get slaughtered. Every single aspect of it is going to get picked apart. You're going to change it, you're going to think, oh, that was actually quite rubbish. You're going to want to get rid of it. So don't be afraid to just be cutthroat and get rid of it. At the same time though, what I did was, each time I sent it to someone, I saved a different draft, so I had a different document of my personal statement at each stage of me writing it. This way, if I cut something out and then later down the line I thought, actually, I did write something really good ages ago and I kind of want to see how it would fit again, you haven't completely lost it. It is good to share it with different people. The 3 groups of people that I would recommend sharing it with is 1, ask professionals in the industry that you want to go into, or the industry you want to study. So if you do know any people who did study that subject at university, maybe they're relatives, or maybe they studied a similar subject, or maybe like they're still doing that subject now and they're in university, ask them to read your personal statement. The last thing you want to do is be speaking about a subject being like, yeah, I'm so passionate about it, and you've gotten all the facts wrong. Ask your teachers and your mentors or your parents to read it and make sure that it's actually the kind of thing that universities are looking for, because obviously you're writing to a university. Teachers are probably the best at this and they know what the universities are looking for. And then the final person you should ask to see it, this should be like completely at the end when you're just about to send it. Ask your best friend or your sibling or your cousin or someone you're really close to read it. That should be the final person, to make sure that it actually sounds like you, because it is you saying why you should study at the universities. Check your spelling and your grammar before you send it off. If anyone does want help with their personal statement, or they do want me to read through it, then please feel free to either DM me on Instagram at koalacafaciae and just say, hey, I'm in year 12, I'm applying to university, can I send you my personal statement? And I'm happy to read some. Or you can email me and send it over. My email is koalacafaciae@gmail.com. I've only written 1 personal statement, so I'm not an expert, but I might be able to give you some tips. Okay, thank you for watching. I'm going to stop talking now because my cheeks are starting to hurt and I've been speaking for too long. Don't forget to like, share, comment and subscribe and all of that jazz, and I'll see you next week. Bye!